Every serialist, or SK if you know what I mean, has a grace period. Think about it. Their sick hobby only comes to light after several victims are discovered and detectives spot patterns between them. Based on decades of FBI profiling and criminal behavior analysis, estimates suggest that there are 25 to 50 active serialists in the United States at any given time. That is a really scary thought. After all, it could be your neighbor. We don't find out who's out there until the bodies begin to pile up. Hi, I'm T, and this is Bed Crime Stories podcast. Do me a favor, smash the like button. It's a free way you can help. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Over the past 3 months in New England, 12 sets of human remains have been found. Just in case you're not familiar with it, New England is a region in the northeastern U.S., and it consists of 6 states, including Connecticut, Maine, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, and Vermont. Those 6 states cover millions of acres. Because it's a rather shocking number of dead people to turn up over a relatively short period of time, some people fear that all of these people could be victims of a prolific monster a la Ted Bundy, Dennis Rader, and all the others. Now let's look at the 12 deceased people if we can, at least the 12 sets of remains, and see if we can spot any patterns that could point to a serialist. I can't use the SK word because YouTube advertisers don't cotton to that term. So thus far, law enforcement in New England in general has been somewhat dismissive of the serialist thing. That could be because they don't want to alarm people living in the region. They don't yet know the cause and manner of death for all 12 sets of remains, so they can't definitively rule out a monster. And if you live in New England, you probably should be aware of this situation just in case it turns out to be true. Maybe this information that I'm going to share with you might make you decide to lock the front door, the back door, the windows when you otherwise wouldn't. Maybe it'll make you decide to go hiking with another person instead of solo. I'm going to go through these remains chronologically. March 6th of 2025 was a very busy day for some detectives in New England. 2 sets of remains were found. People taking a pleasant walk in a wooded area off Route 3 in Plymouth, Massachusetts, got the shock of a lifetime when they discovered a human skull. So far, the authorities don't know who the skull belongs to. They also don't know the cause of death. Now, if the skull has natural teeth, experts can extract pulp from the teeth, and from it they can derive DNA. But that's going to take a little bit of time. The second set of remains found on that same day, March 6th, were found in Norwalk, Connecticut. The body of 35-year-old Paige Fannin was discovered in the Norwalk River in Norwalk, Connecticut. Paige was from West Islip, New York. She was reported missing on March 4th, so 2 days earlier, from Wilton, Connecticut, near Shanks Island. Police found clothing and personal items on the riverbank there. The investigation is ongoing, but so far, foul play has not been determined. So she might have just decided to go for a swim. Maybe she went out there deliberately to unalive herself. Maybe she wasn't in her right mind. We don't know. It could also be a setup by somebody who unalived her. You never know. The next day, on March 7th, fishermen working off of the Massachusetts coast recovered a decomposed, embalmed body approximately 40 miles offshore. That's weird because I thought when you were embalmed, your body would not decompose very quickly, but maybe when it's in the water, that changes the whole thing. I don't know. Law enforcement think that the body may have been been somebody who was buried at sea, and they're saying there were no signs of foul play. So far, we have a skull, we have 35-year-old Paige Fannin, and then we have an unidentified body. Fast forward 12 days to March 19th, and the remains of 58-year-old Suzanne Wormser were discovered in a black suitcase near the entrance to Colonel Ledyard Cemetery in Groton, Connecticut. But before you freak out, you should know that Suzanne's 68-year-old roommate, a guy named Donald Koffel, was arrested and charged in connection with her death, and he confessed to the crime and admitted that he used a baseball bat to unalive Wormser. Suzanne and Donald had lived together since December of 2024, and so this case is basically solved, and clearly the authorities don't think it is connected to a serialist. The next day, on March 20th, skeletal remains belonging to 23-year-old Amanda Groszewski were found in Derry, New Hampshire. They were located at the Hoodcroft Country Club golf course. Amanda had been reported missing on March 17th of 2020. She was reported missing after leaving a friend's home on Birch Street in Derry without her purse, without her cell phone. Her remains were only found after a drone pilot hired by Amanda's family identified a suspicious area and called the police. Now, the cause and manner of death have not been publicized. Amanda's mother does believe that foul play was involved. Because Amanda disappeared in 2020, this doesn't necessarily mean that she could be the victim of a currently active serialist, but you can't rule that out either. Moving on to March 21st, that's when the body of 59-year-old Denise Leary was discovered in New Haven, Connecticut. Denise was reported missing on September 30th of 2024. She was last seen at her home near Rock Creek Road. She was wearing a black hat, a black blazer, dark blue jeans, black boots, and a multicolored handbag. Residents of the area cleaning up brush behind Rock Creek Road discovered the remains, and they were in an advanced state of decay. Now, sadly, Denise was known to have paranoid schizophrenia, so that could be a contributing factor to her death, but her cause and manner of death are still undetermined. And law enforcement are saying no immediate signs of foul play were seen or have been seen. Then, on March 25th, yes, it continues. A body was discovered in Taunton, Massachusetts. It turned out to be 51-year-old Samuel Stovall. Stovall was known to the local authorities, and he was believed to be homeless. His body was found in the Mill River near 43 Chandler Avenue, and it showed signs of significant decomposition. The police say the investigation into his death is ongoing, but they don't seem to see it as a suspicious death. A day later, on March 26, the remains of 56-year-old Michelle Romano were discovered in a wooded area off Plainfield Pike in Foster, Rhode Island. Michelle had been missing since August 18th of 2024, and her family is dismissive of the serialist theory. However, law enforcement is investigating her death as being under suspicious circumstances. At the time of her disappearance, Michelle was living at a home on Hazard Avenue in Warwick. She was described, or is described, as a mother of two, and a very loving mother at that. Let's head into April of 2025 now. That is when unidentified skeletal human remains were discovered in Killingly, I think I said that right, Killingly, Connecticut, near railroad tracks. That name is rather eerie, Killingly. The authorities are saying that the remains belong to a male believed to be between 25 and 45 years of age, and they're saying that this person died approximately 1 year ago. The next day, April 10th, unidentified skeletal human remains were discovered in Framingham, Massachusetts, while firefighters were responding to a brush fire near the Massachusetts Turnpike. The remains appeared to have been there for several months. The police are saying that no foul play is suspected, but they're not saying why they believe that. Now, that was near exit 117 on the Massachusetts Turnpike. Now, here's a really scary one. On April 22nd, the body of 45-year-old Megan Meredith was discovered near a bike path on Hall of Fame Avenue in Springfield, Massachusetts. Megan was found unresponsive but alive around 8 a.m. Sadly, she was pronounced dead shortly after, and her death has been classified as a red rum. Spell it backwards and you'll know what I'm talking about. That's another word YouTube doesn't like. Now, 5 days later, on April 27th, the body of 72-year-old Mary Colasanto was found along the shoreline of the Connecticut River in Rocky Hill. Mary's body was near Ferry Park, and a boater spotted it around 8:53 a.m. Mary had been reported missing on March 30th of 2025, and she was last seen around 12:30 a.m., odd time for a 72-year-old, maybe, parking her car at the Riverfront Park near the Glastonbury Boathouse on Wells Street. I shouldn't say that because some people don't consider 72 very old, and I definitely don't want to be accused of ageism. But I do wonder, what's a 72-year-old woman doing at a river park at 12:30 a.m.? Not p.m., not lunchtime. We're talking in the early morning hours. Mary was a resident of Glastonbury, and no cause or manner of death has been released. Then, on May 1st, so just this past week, 25-year-old Matthew Yeoman's body was discovered in Easton, Massachusetts. His cause of death is thus far undetermined. Now, he'd been missing since 2021, and Matthew was last seen at his grandfather's house on Summer Street. His wallet, identification cards, and cell phone were found inside the grandfather's home. The cause and manner of death have not yet been determined. I think I already said that. Oops. Then, this past week, authorities in New England found the body of 39-year-old Stephen Myers behind Bristol Plymouth High School in Taunton, Massachusetts. The body was in a construction site, and unfortunately, Myers had been shot one time and apparently had died of the injury. The police are saying that Myers has no connection to the school. So now let's summarize what we've got here. We've got one unidentified skull in Plymouth, Massachusetts. 2, we have 35-year-old Paige Fannin in Norwalk. She was found in a river. It sounds like she may have drowned because her clothes were found on the shoreline. 3, we have that embalmed body found floating off the Massachusetts coast. It sounds like it was a burial at sea. Every time I say that, I think of JFK Jr. because he was buried at sea. Remember what a hunka he was? I saw him once in New York City, and guess what? He was even more handsome than in photos of him. But I digress. Next we have Suzanne Wormser, whose body was found in a black suitcase, but of course her roommate copped to the crime, and he's now in jail. We have 23-year-old Amanda Groszewski in Derry, New Hampshire. Her mom believes foul play was involved, and her body was found on the grounds of a country club golf course. Next, we have 59-year-old Denise Leary. Denise is the poor soul who suffered from paranoid schizophrenia and was found in brush after residents were clearing an area. Then we have 45-year-old Megan Meredith, who was found clinging to life off a bike path, but who later died, and her death has been ruled a red rum. Then there's 51-year-old Samuel Stovall, a homeless man who was found in a river in Taunton, Massachusetts. Then we have 56-year-old Michelle Romano, a devoted mother of two, who was found in a wooded area in Foster, New Hampshire. Her death has been ruled suspicious, but her family is refuting the idea that her death could be tied to an SK. Next, we have those unidentified male remains found near train tracks in Connecticut. He is believed to be between 25 and 45 years old, and it's believed he died about a year ago. Then we have the human remains found near the Massachusetts Turnpike. They are unidentified so far. They don't know if it's a male or a female. They say that the remains appear to have been there for several months, so I'd say that one is suspicious. Let's not forget 72-year-old Mary Colasanti, who was parked at River Park at 12:30 a.m. and then was found floating in the water. Then we have 25-year-old Matthew Yeoman, who was last seen at his grandfather's house. And finally, we have 39-year-old Stephen Myers, who was found deceased behind a high school in a construction area. Those are actually 13 people, but again, one of those cases has been solved, so maybe that's why we have 13, but they're only talking about 12. Is it possible all of these people are the work of an SK or serialist, as I like to say? It's possible. Is it probable? I don't think it is probable. Not all of them. Some of them could definitely be the work of one perpetrator, but we simply don't have enough evidence right now because we don't know the cause and manner of death. So unfortunately, we have to wait and watch, and let's hope that more bodies do not turn up. And let's also hope that the unidentified remains can be identified and identified quickly. If it is an SK who is responsible for some of these deaths, he doesn't seem to be a very well, how shall we put it, rehearsed type of serialist. He didn't hide the bodies in camouflage burlap like Rex Heuermann allegedly. It sounds like these bodies were simply dumped in wooded areas. There were no efforts perhaps to bury them. I don't like fear-mongering, but since nobody really knows yet what's going on, it seems like it would be prudent to always lock your doors, your windows. Again, like I said earlier, don't go hiking alone. Be vigilant of your surroundings. Maybe have a whistle on you and some pepper spray or a more lethal weapon. You can leave a pair of men's work boots on the front porch. That's something that I believe Dennis Rader said he looked for, and if he saw those, he would avoid that house. My theory is always make yourself and your home the least desirable one to a criminal, whether that's because you have an alarm in, and you can see that it's advertised outside, whether that's because you have a huge German Shepherd, whether you keep your lights on all around your property at night. And I have to admit that studying these crimes and reading about people like Dennis Rader, BTK as he's known, has sort of lessened my enjoyment of life. And I say that because when I was a child and a teenager growing up in Wisconsin, in the summer and the spring, we would leave the windows open. I would go to bed with the windows open. I had a lilac bush right out the window. My mom planted it there for me, and the lilacs were just divine. The scent was intoxicating, and I just remember thunderstorms as well, where the shade on the window would move around, and I absolutely loved it. And now I live in Phoenix, and I lock my windows. I keep them closed at night. Usually in the summer, that's because of the heat outside, but I'm still a little paranoid, so I pretty much keep the windows closed at night. You know, it's a ground floor home. I don't have a second story or taller. You know, I think about these things. Well, let me know what you think about all these bodies in New England. Do you think it's a serialist, or do you think it's just that a lot of people have disappeared over the past couple of years and suddenly they've all been found this year during these 3 months? Please like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you next time on Bed Crime Stories. Love you guys. Have a great weekend.